Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to use Jest Tests to test the code you write in JavaScript. I'm going to start with something basic, just a multiply function, and then we'll go on and show you an actual test for a React app, a little more sophisticated. All right, here we go, guys. I'm going to show you how from scratch to run some Jest Tests. So I'm in my terminal. I'm going to CD into my desktop. I'm going to make a folder. I'll just call it Jest Tests. I'm going to CD into that Jest Test folder I just created. I'm going to open up VS Code. Great. So we got my Jest Test folder. We're in there right now. I'm going to create a new file called multiply.js. That's where I'm going to write my multiply function. And I'm going to go ahead and create a touch multiply.test.js because I'm going to need that. I guess I should go ahead and I'm going to need a package.json. So npm init y. And then I'm also going to go ahead and install Jest because we're going to need that. So do npm I -- save dev Jest because Jest is going to be a dev dependency. It means I need to go in this package.json, and right here I need to replace all that in the scripts tag with Jest. The scripts part of the package.json. Save that with command S. Overwrite. Save. Fantastic. Okay. So for my multiply.js file, I'm going to create a function, a multiply function. I'm going to pass it A and B inside the parameters, right? And then GitHub Copilot's basically helping me write the rest of this. Basically, we're going to want to create a function, and inside that, we're going to want to return A times B. So whatever we pass it, if we pass it, say 7 times 10, it'll take 7, which is A, 10, which is B. Multiply that, we'll get 70. And I need to go ahead and export this multiply function because I'm going to need that in my yarn testing. All right. So right here, first thing we need to do is we need to import that multiply function we just created, just like that. And then we write test here. And then inside the parentheses, as you can see, GitHub Copilot's trying to basically go ahead and write it. But it's not what I want GitHub Copilot. So let me put parentheses. I'm going to say when I multiply two numbers, I get the right answer. You can put whatever you want right here. This basically just signifies in the testing environment what this test was for. Put a comma, and then I'm going to need to pass it an arrow function. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then in here, we're basically going to tell it what we expect. So we expect that when we multiply 3 by 4 to be 12. Yep. Or in my example, right, I passed it 7 and 10 for A and B, and that would expect us to get 70. So I'm actually going to leave it at 12 just to show you guys what it looks like when I get a bad test. So I'm going to write yarn test or npm test, depending on whether you're using yarn or npm, doesn't really matter. See, I failed because we expected to receive 70, or we expected to receive 12, but we received 70, right, because I put to be 12. But if I went ahead and put to be 70, because that's what you'd actually expect if you multiply 7 times 10, and I run yarn test again, we should see a passing test. And voila, exactly. So let's do a little more dynamic than just a basic multiply function. Let's actually create a React app and run Jest Tests in that and see if we can get something a little more useful. All right, guys, so this app is all going to be on GitHub, so don't worry. It's going to be a lot more code than the last one. But let me go ahead and start up this app so you guys can see what I'm rocking with. And here's the package.json, but again, all this code will be on GitHub if you want to pull it down and try for yourself. All right, so we got this thing built, localhost 880. You see I got a little React app here, super simple. The mascot for Nostr is an ostrich. I know, another damn bird app. Bitcoin offers humanity money backed by math and code instead of violence and debt. True things. All right, so if I open this link in the new tab, what's going on here? Why can I not get facts? Or what? Interesting thing about React is that all of the code is rendered client side, all those routes and stuff. So it can't get facts because it can't make a fetch request to the server. Wow, I just learned that in teaching this video. That's pretty cool. All right, so yeah, if we go to facts, the URL here, boom. Then if we go to Nostr facts, here's some Nostr facts. And same for this one. You can go here and see this. I'm sorry, Bitcoin facts, and it takes you there. But look, important distinction here. This is the point I'm making. If I open this in a new tab, it says 404, or it says cannot get, which is a 404 error. The reason it can't do that is because it tries to basically send a GET request to the backend, but there's no backend right now. It's just basically, or I guess the backend just sends my client, which is my laptop, the code and all of that. Sends my client all the HTML code it's going to need, and then basically only on the front end it's rendering. So there's no GET request they can make to a backend to actually get that fax URL because it's all just sent in this. So it only opens when I actually click it. I can't open that in a new tab, which is really interesting. All right, so now that you've seen the little React app I built, let's check out the test I wrote for this bad boy. Let me get out of that and yarn test. And before I run yarn test, we'll go through them and I'll show you guys. Checking in the app that there's a picture container with the length of 1, which is yes, what you saw in the app and when you originally opened it. Save that. You also see that it checks for all of these facts that were on the pages for Nostr and Bitcoin. And then it checks this picture container and goes to these links that get sent client side and all basically sent to the client at once. So if you want to check out those URL paths, you do it on the client side. There's no backend. You can make a GET request to receive what's down that fax length, which is really interesting. But an important thing to note here, hard coding is a bad practice. If you hard code kids, you're going to have a bad time. But I went ahead and hard coded, and I'll show you if I run the yarn test. We should get a failing test. Just one, alas, yes, hard coding is a bad practice. But check this out. As long as you know it's a bad practice, but you've weighed those trade-offs, then I think it's okay to do. Image, yeah, that's what we want right there. Boom. 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 Save. Yarn test again. We should have all passing tests. Look at that. Easy peasy. So again, all this code will be on GitHub. I know it is a lot meatier compared to that first just simple function to multiply I wrote. But Jest is a beautiful thing. And if you do test-driven development and you adhere to the single principle rule, what you can actually do is paste that into like a ChatGPT or a Google Bard or Claude AI or any of these large language models and ask it to generate code for you based off the test you've written. So yeah, if you're doing test-driven development, write those tests and then put it into Google Bard or something like that, and see if it can help you write some genuine code. Find these tools to be pretty effective. And yeah, again, all this code will be on GitHub. So appreciate all you guys watching the video. Hope you got some value out of this and learn a little bit more about Jest Tests. I know those were two very different examples with a very simple multiply function to then go to the actual full stack React app that's leveraging a lot of technologies. But one of the biggest challenges I had with software development is understanding the difference between the back end and the front end. In most of our modern day internet, we have to call these servers. So if you're watching Netflix, you're calling the Netflix servers to get streamed that information. Or if you're logging on to Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or any of these platforms, you're calling those servers, and those servers deliver all your data to the client, which is your iPhone or your laptop at the end of the day. And, as a software developer, you have to be very cognizant of whether you're developing for the front end or the back end, right? So it's pretty cool to see that example. And I kind of understood as I was trying to teach this why React is so important, because it allows you to send all this code to someone's client, and then on their client, they can go to those different routes, which is a really cool thing to experience. And one of the things that excites me so much about Nostr is the fact that it allows us to flip our current internet model where we have smart servers and dumb clients. So the smart server has all the data, smart. It's got all of the power. And I feel like Nostr flips that on its head. So you have smart clients, because the private key, if you read those Nostr facts, the private key is everything. You can use that private key to unencrypt all your data, to sign messages, to zap people through Nostr, zap Bitcoin through Nostr. You need a private key to be able to do that. And that private key is everything. So it shifts it. So where the servers is this dumb server sending, your smart client the information it needs, and the server just relays it. That's why it's notes and other stuff transmitted by relay. So going down the computer science rabbit hole, I definitely struggled with the whole back and front end model. Didn't really understand the difference. But bit by bit, if you continue learning computer science, it slowly but surely starts to make sense. And that was a cool little moment teaching today to actually see how React helps front end developers develop awesome code, awesome applications. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know what other things you'd like to see and learn. I'm still developing on my software engineering journey. And if you got value out of this video, I love value for value. Feel free to send me a tip on my website, benmucker.com.